Good evening, everyone. I'm Apurva, fifth year student at NUJS Kolkata. In Over the course of a few lectures, I will be teaching you polity, and that will be covering static information related to Constitution of India, and also certain current affairs like related to Constitution. For example, if there is any news which relates to governor or the state affairs or the central affairs, that we'll be discussing. In this lecture, I will be teaching you as to how the Constitution of India came into existence. So now when I say this, everyone might have thought about Constituent Assembly and who was the chairman of Constituent Assembly, or what were other committees which were in the Constituent Assembly, and who all headed uh, those assemblies or those committees. But over here, we will go slightly more behind in history, and we will cover as to how constitution or the law in India came into existence. So when we imagine medieval history of India, we imagine about the Mughal Emperor, the Mughal Kingdom, then Marathas, then other southern kingdoms, that all kingdoms together formed India of those times. Now, when there was Mughal kingdom, there was no democratic republic India. At that time, there were several kingdoms who had their own territorial sovereignty, and there were different rules by which different kingdoms uh, ruled themselves, which was basically fighting wars, gaining territories of other kingdoms, so on and so forth. But then came globalization and came East India Company. Now, East India Company, uh, which was a private company, formed just as a modern company is formed, where there is a director, where there are shareholdings, where there are shareholders. That was a private company which was formed in Britain, and the company decided that they want to trade with Spice Island, and those Spice Islands were Indonesia, because their European neighbors such as Portugal and Spain, they had already discovered their spice route, like spice route meaning routes through Mediterranean Sea and other seas, like other seas across the Madagascar and Indian Ocean. They had reached to Indonesia, and they had a full-fledged trade going on with the Spice Islands. Britain was a little behind in the race in those times, but East India Company, they decided that they will figure out a new route to Spice Island, and they will establish their own business. They were not so successful in the initial years, and Portuguese had a very strong settlement in the Spice Island in those era, and EIC couldn't establish a business, and they were defeated badly. So now when East India Company decided to move away from Spice Island, that is how they ended up in India, around Gujarat. And then William Hawkins, he went to the court of Jahangir to take permission to trade in India. And that was the time when Emperor Jahangir gave permission and asked that the British traders can come and form a settlement in the Mughal kingdom and trade with the trade within their market. Now, this was not only limited to the Britishers. Portuguese also had their small settlements in India. French also had their settlements, but there was nothing like a full-fledged business going on. There were like small territorial controls given to those traders, and they were trading within their own regions. But now, these European countries, for example, Portuguese, French, and the Britishers, they wanted to gain more and more control over India. Now, there were like fights between these European countries. You must have heard about French Anglo-French War, Anglo-Portuguese War, and how in the end EIC became the dominant uh, trading trading company of India. Now, EIC was, when fighting with its other rivals, it was also having tussle with the Indian kings. Now, Indian kings thought that these EICs, they are they're stepping out of the settlement, or they're stepping out of the permission that they were granted in the initial phase. Now that is how the tussle began between the EIC officials and the Indian kings, and that is how the Battle of Buxar happened. Now, Battle of Buxar is relatively significant when we talk about the historical background of our constitution, because that is how EIC, East India Company, became more than trader. Basically, they transformed from being traders to administrative controllers of a province. So now, why is Battle of Buxar important? What is Battle of Buxar? Battle of Buxar was fought in 1767 between the EIC officials, which was headed by Hector Munro, and Robert Clive was also a very significant part, but that was Battle of Plassey, which was fought in 1757. That was also significantly important for maintaining the dominance of East India Company. But 1765 is more relevant from the constitutional perspective, because 1765 war gave Diwani rights to the British officials of East India Company. Now in this, East India Company officials fought against the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, Nawab of Oudh, and Nawab of Bengal. Now the powers of these two Nawabs and one emperor of Mughal kingdom, they fought and they lost against the East India Company. And as a settlement towards the end of the war, Shah Alam, who was the Mughal emperor, he gave away the province of Bengal. Now the then province of Bengal included the current states of Odisha and Bihar as well. Now, when they were granted Diwani rights, that meant that the East India Company officials can tax the people of that province and can collect revenues from the people there. Now, for example, if earlier under the Mughal administration, a farmer was supposed to give 1/3 of his production, maybe maybe when they were ruled by East India Company officials, their rules might have increased the share which was to be shared. Now that is how the administrative power increased of EIC, and they became more than the traders. Now when they became traders, that was 1765, similarly the EIC officials started gaining more and more territories by fighting with other Indian kingdoms, now which was in southern with Marathas or with the Tipu Sultan. So now all of these Anglo-Sikh war, Anglo Maratha war, all of these happened, and this is how East India Company started gaining more and more territory, more and more administrative control within India, and they started getting more and more of powers over India, and the Mughal kingdom was on its decline. So now there was a power was rising, which was East India Company, which you should remember was a private company, private trading company, and from Britain, and Mughal kingdom, which was the central kingdom, which was ruling over all over India, was on its decline. Now there were certain problematic steps which were taken by these EIC officials. For example, there were bullets which were being formed out of beef and pork, which incited the religious sentiments of the sepoys, and there were also very problematic decisions which were taken by the Britishers to gain more and more territorial control or win more and more kingdoms in India, which was like doctrine of lapse happened, where adopted child could not become the true heir to the throne, and so on and so forth. So all of this led to a sentiment rising against EIC, which was East India Company, and that is how in 1857 First War of Independence happened. Now in this First War of Independence, what happened was that the Britain, or the Crown of Britain, stepped in, and they, as a appeasement to the Indians, offered that now East India Company will not be administering you. Instead, you will be administered directly by the British Crown. So that's how the British Crown rule started in 1858 and it continued till 1947. So in the next lecture, I will be teaching you that what were all the rules which came, all the rules of the regulating acts or Government of India Acts, what is the difference and what were the rules which came in the existence when EIC or East India Company was ruling India and what were the acts which came when the British Crown was ruling India. So now, when EIC was ruling India, which was a private company, obviously the state of Britain wanted to control EIC affairs so that they could get more and more profits. Because it was only a private company which was which was making profits, or the officials of EIC were making profits, but the state of Britain was not making profits. So that's why the state of Britain wanted to intervene in the affairs of East India Company and try to control East India Company by passing more and more regulating acts. Now these regulating acts were being passed in the parliament or in Britain, right? And those regulating acts were bound to control the affairs of East India Company within India. And post 1858, what happened was that this parliament in Britain was directly administering the affairs in India. Now, there was no East India Company, but we became a direct colony of Britain. So that is the difference, that how before 1858 there was a private company whose affairs were being controlled by the parliament in Britain. Post 1858 the crown became the controller, and that is how the crown passed on the legislative powers to the parliament, because that is the settlement in Britain, that there is monarchy but there is also parliament, which means that monarchy will be the head but legislative powers will be in the hands of the parliament and not the monarch. So that is how that was the difference, and this is how what we will be dealing, we will be studying further, because there you must have seen that there are a lot of questions in ALET or even in previous question papers of CLAT where static questions related to polity are asked, that certain provision was brought in by which regulating act. So I'm telling you that regulating act, by the term regulating act means that regulation of the EIC. So that is how we'll be dealing regulating act and charter acts, that because those were under the era of EIC, Government of India Acts came in the era of the Crown rule. Now this is it for this lecture. We will be continuing further, and I will be dealing with the company rule over there, which is from 1773 to 1858, which is from 1773 when the first regulating act was passed, and 1858 when the British Crown took over the control of India from EIC. Thank you very much for watching this video.